Hey guys, welcome to the Cinema Corral. This is the section of my YouTube channel where I talk about the latest releases and I review them. In this video, I'm going to be continuing from the last video in the Cinema Corral series, where I finish up the reviews by talking about the Angry Birds Movie 2 and Where'd You Go, Bernadette. So let's get started. Alright, let's talk about the Angry Birds Movie 2. First, I've got to say I've never seen the original. I really don't have a desire to. I think it's kind of dumb we live in a world where an Angry Birds movie exists, a movie based on a mobile game, but that's also not the first time that we've had a movie based on a mobile game before, so, what do I know? For the most part, I admire the animation. There was clearly some talent put into making this movie. There's a pretty decent voice cast here, and I appreciate the fact that they're not afraid to get goofy with it. They are fully aware that this is a cartoon and they use it to its fullest potential. They don't try to get too lifelike with the animals, the birds and the pigs. Not really a big fan of the art design. The style for the characters kind of annoys me, but that's just a personal gripe. Speaking more in terms of the script, the message of pride and knowing when and how to share the spotlight. I think that's a good message to teach kids. I don't think it was fully handled as well as it probably could have been. In terms of the writing, I think that it's a little annoying in terms of the hyperactive sugar-based humor. It gets really dumb with its LOL random moments. And then there are 18, I counted them in the credits, 18 licensed songs. And they hit one after the other, and it gets old really quick. And it's not even really used as like a background thing to emphasize a moment. It's more used for like a joke. There's a decent one with David Bowie's Space Oddity. The rest of them are just kind of dumb and shoved in there for a joke. Speaking of things that are shoved in here, there's a B plot with the hatchlings, the tiny baby birds, and it really doesn't add anything to the plot until it's forced to tie into the A plot at the very last second. I think it's really weak script writing. Granted, they do get the best lines or the more funny moments in this movie, but it did feel largely unnecessary. On top of that, the film itself is largely unfunny. Of course, it does the stupid humor. There's a bit where they need to enact a plan, and so they're communicating with Apple Watches, basically, and one of the characters says, "Initiate Plan X," and the leader of the pig says, "Plan X? I thought you said spandex." No, stop. Don't do that. It's annoying. The film itself is, I don't know, probably largely forgettable for me. I'm not gonna think twice about this at the end of the year. Kids might like it. Parents might not hate this. But the thing that I really did like about this movie, and it really has nothing to do with the actual movie itself. There is a short in front of this movie called Hair Love, and it's like almost like a 2.5D, and it's a beautiful, gorgeous short. It was very moving, and honestly, it was kind of on par with something that Disney or Pixar might put out. So if any good came out of watching Angry Birds Movie 2, it was definitely that. As it stands, I'm going to go ahead and give it a C-. I don't hate it. It does a lot of things that I really dislike. I think it even had a dance scene at the very end because, of course, kids might like it. I really didn't. Okay, and last up we got Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And this is based on a best-selling novel. I have never heard of it. I've never read it. So I'm judging this movie on its own merits. Great cast. Cate Blanchett is wonderful. She's just always wonderful, though. And you got some other great actors in there. You got Lawrence Fishburne, you got Judy Greer, and they turn in really solid performances. Now I can really see what Linklater was going for here. I think that there could have really been a great movie here. Something that really spoke to a person feeling defeated and losing themselves. But a lot of this film falls apart in its execution, and I know that there were a lot of problems behind the scenes on this movie. Apparently it was slated to come out in 2018, and then it got pushed back. I think it was actually supposed to come out a little earlier this year, and here we are in August finally getting it. I know that the initial runtime was supposed to be like 2 hours, 10 minutes, and I think they cut maybe 20 minutes out of this film, and you can really feel it. In terms of characters, Bernadette is rather unsympathetic, and whenever the film wanted me to feel pity for her, I really didn't. She wasn't somebody that I connected to. She wasn't somebody that I was really rooting for. She had no real redeeming qualities until about the middle of the third act. The pacing is rather clunky and uneven. The plot is very front-loaded, where it should really be evenly dispersed, if not a little bit backloaded. The part where Bernadette goes missing doesn't happen until there's like 40 minutes left of the film. And I know that they were going for a literal and a figurative sense for Where'd You Go, Bernadette? But something about the pacing really kept it from keeping that forward momentum to keep you wanting more of this film. On top of that, there's an unnecessary, near pretentious narration from the daughter, and it's usually about something wildlife related. Did you know that penguins do this and this? And then they relate it back to Bernadette, and I'm just like, really? Come on. Speaking more to characters, the father's character change near the end feels almost instantaneous, and that really took me out of the movie. Every character except for Bernadette feels really underdeveloped. They all just feel very two-dimensional, and I really didn't like Bernadette, but at least she had a character. Everybody else I wouldn't really call caricatures, but I also would not call them characters. There are way too many exposition dumps in this movie, and all of them are incredibly lazy. There's a whole subplot of Bernadette talking to somebody through email. She has a speech-to-text option going, and so everything that she's thinking and feeling she talks about in an email, which, okay, fine. But then we get a video essay on YouTube that's about Bernadette's past, which, funny enough, happened to be the most interesting part of the movie for me. I was a little invested in that. And then they kept turning it off. And then the final one is a dual exposition scene where Bernadette and her husband are both talking about Bernadette's feelings at the same time to different people. It just felt really lazy to me. And then on top of that, the movie just kind of ends. There wasn't really any feeling of reaching a satisfying conclusion to the film. It literally just ends. And I feel like this had a better ending before editorial got a hold of it, before they started to leave pieces on the cutting room floor. This movie does not fully work. I can see why somebody would like this movie. There is some stuff in here that works, and I definitely, like I said, I definitely see where they were going with this movie. They could have really had something here, but between a script that really doesn't work and editing choices that ultimately hurt the film, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give Where'd You Go, Bernadette a D-. This really did not work for me. I really can't recommend it. So that's all I got for you for this episode of Cinema Corral. Be sure to stay tuned. I'm going to be talking about the movies that came out this past week. I know I'm slowly catching up. Hopefully this coming week is very kind to me, but in the meantime, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to stay updated every time I upload, and until then, I'll see you next time.